forward walk. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. This video is dedicated specifically to your feet and your knees. I will do a separate video on the hip work in the forward walk. I'd like to point out that a forward walk in cha-cha-cha also has the walk in it. Normally you'll do a forward walk on 2, a forward walk on 3, and then a lock step on 4 and 1. The first thing that I tell my students about the walk is that we should always be stepping with our heels facing inwards and our toes facing slightly out. For a lot of people, it's more comfortable to walk with either very square forward feet or even with the toes pointing a little bit inwards. But in dance, in Latin dance, we want to walk with our heels facing inwards. The next point that I point out to my students is that I would like them to step with one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Like this. Step 1, step 2, 3, 4. This makes it look like you're dancing in one track. If you were to practice your walk in front of the mirror, you shouldn't be able to see your back leg because it's going to be hidden by your front leg. You don't want to be dancing in two tracks, like this. And you also don't want to be dancing in two tracks by overcrossing, like this. In fact, a very slight overcross is okay. I think that if we look in the mirror and we can see a tiny bit of our foot from the other side of your leg, then that is okay. But you definitely don't want to see any part of your back foot from this side of your leg. So a very slight overcross is okay. In fact, I like it. I think a very, very slight overcross looks good in a walk. Now, the reason why I tell my students to turn their heels inwards and to step with one foot in front of the other, well, one reason is that it looks beautiful. But the main reason why is because it makes us more balanced. To be centered, we want to have our foot, our standing foot, to be underneath our center. When I say our standing foot to be underneath our center, I'm actually talking about specifically this part of your foot. So the part of the foot that is right underneath the bone line of your leg. So that's the part that you want to have underneath your center in order to be balanced. If that part of the foot is going to be outside of your center, like this, then you're very likely to fall. The next point about the feet is where most of your weight on the foot should be. You always want your weight to be on the inside edges of your feet. It's very, very common to want to let your foot roll outside or to let it be very, very flat, but you want to have your weight on the inside edge of your foot. This goes for your standing foot, and the same goes for your supporting foot. You want your weight to be on the inside edge of the ball of the foot, not on the outside edge of the ball of the foot. I think if we do not push on an inside edge of the ball of the foot and our weight is just sort of flat, then we're very likely to move from one side of the foot to the other, causing us to not be as strong and to lose balance a little bit. But if you will be pushing your weight on the inside edge of your foot constantly, then the weight will just stay there and your foot will not be interrupted at all. Inside edge, inside edge, inside edge. The same goes for your supporting foot. Inside edge, inside edge, inside edge, inside edge. To make my explanation a little bit easier to understand, I want to make sure that you know what I mean when I'm saying standing leg and when I'm saying supporting leg. Your weight is always going to be distributed between 2 feet. You can either have split weight, where you have the same amount of weight on both legs. You can have weight on just one foot, where the other one is completely off the floor. So 100% of the weight on just the one leg. Or you can have more weight on one leg and less weight on the other leg. And the leg that has more weight becomes your standing leg, and the leg that has less weight becomes your supporting leg. Now, a traveling leg is the leg that travels. Standing leg, supporting leg, traveling leg. Standing leg, supporting leg, traveling leg. A mistake that's very commonly done, that I often see, is dancers stepping onto their standing leg but taking way too much weight off their supporting leg, and way too soon, like this. 1, 1. This is not going to help with balance, because it's kind of like dancing or standing on just one leg. A dancer is much more balanced when the weight is distributed between 2 legs. Of course, the standing leg is going to have more weight, and the supporting leg is going to have less weight, but still you have some weight on the back leg, therefore you're standing on 2 legs, and therefore you're more balanced. Split your weight between 2 feet. I would say about 80% on your standing leg and 20% on your supporting leg. 80% on your standing leg and 20% on your supporting leg. Now, these numbers change. You can go from 80 to 20, you can go from 60 to 40, or even 90-10. You always want to leave some weight on your supporting leg, for the reason that when you have 2 legs to hold your balance, it's always better. It's always going to make you more balanced. Step 1, and 1, and 1, and 1. To be balanced also, it's extremely important to fully straighten your knee in a very sharp way the second your standing leg's heel hits the floor. I like to use a chair to help me in my explanation for why it's really important to have straight knees. Notice how I can sit on this chair and feel confident that it will hold me. The reason why is because the legs of the chair are, well, they're made of metal for this particular chair, and therefore no part of the leg can break. They're very solid, strong legs, and therefore I can sit on it and be sure that I won't fall. You want your legs to be kind of like the legs in a chair whenever they're holding your weight. So straightening your knee is good, but straightening in a way that it locks and becomes very, very strong is better. So every time you're going to step over your standing leg, you're going to straighten your knee in a very, very sharp way, and not just straighten it, but lock it. Like this. Straight, 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 straight. Now your supporting leg. Your supporting leg, the one that has less weight, the one that's on the ball of the foot, should also be extremely straight. It's very common for people to bend it, but it should not bend. It should stay very, very straight. You will only bend that knee when the leg starts to go. Now, it's really important to keep your standing leg straight all the way through. What I mean is, very often dancers will bend their standing leg while their supporting leg or their traveling leg travels, like this. And 1, and 2, and 3. You definitely don't want to do that. You want to keep your standing leg hyperextended and very, very, very straight through the whole time that your traveling leg travels from the back to the front. like this. And 1, and 2. Now the reason why this is a very common mistake, to bend your knee, your standing leg's knee as you're passing it, is because if dancing is something that's new for us, our body is more used to doing things at the same time. So if one knee bends, the other knee wants to bend as well. It might be a bit of a challenge at first to keep one knee very straight and hyperextended as the other knee bends. So this might be a challenge at first, but I think recognizing the fact that it's normal to have this challenge should be helpful. I get my students to notice something when they do that. When you bring your foot in underneath your center, so now both your standing and your supporting feet are underneath your center. If your standing leg is hyperextended and very straight, you'll see this space between your knees. And you want to make this space as big as possible. Now, some people have actually hyperextended knees, knees that really bend the other way, or double jointed. That's great. That makes this even more beautiful. But you definitely don't want to have this. You want the space to be as big as possible. 1, and 1, and 1, and 2, and notice the space. 2, and 1, and 2. Thank you for watching and have fun practicing.